Full high definition.
Oh, full HD. We are live. Welcome back, everyone, to the Point 3 podcast, YouTube live stream. Spider Brando, Hero Scroll, Funko Lou. We are back to give you our thoughts and our reactions to the brand new DC Blue Beetle movie that just dropped last week at this point.
Yes.
I was going to say today's Thursday, so a week ago. We all know, I'm going to preface this. Box office isn't looking too good. We're going to dive into the reasons why. Audience scores are looking fantastic. We're fantastic. We're going to dive into the reasons why. Critics, a lot of good things that are coming out about this movie. Maybe you guys have heard some things that aren't. We're going to talk about everything and give you our thoughts and reactions. Gentlemen, we'll just kick this to Spider Brando because I know he's been hyped for this one.
He's been
hyped.
Our private chats.
I was the first one to see it.
You were the first one, and the private chats were going crazy. Not only the private chats, the Discord chats. So if you guys aren't a part of our Discord, you should go join.
Go do it now.
You see right there.
Go join it.
Down below.
It's right there. Right there.
It's in our bio.
Right there.
But
there you go.
yeah, that movie was amazing. I'm gonna flat out say I don't care if it made 2 cents at the box office. Everybody needs to see this movie. It was DC at its finest. I left that theater with a great sense of feeling and so many emotions that they correctly portrayed. The effort they put into it, you could tell they put in effort, unlike the prior DC movie that came out. That was just a slugfest.
You mean the movie that they slapped with hundreds of millions of dollars and spent hundreds of millions of dollars marketing and spent all of this time building it up for us to be like, this is what you've been waiting for.
Yeah, I mean, like, some people liked it. None of us are any of them.
No.
But
reminder, what's your score for The Flash? I'll just put this in perspective because these are the 2 most recent things. I feel like Shazam, people realize Shazam 2 doesn't exist for a lot. They're just going to gloss over it. Flash ratings real quick. Where did you guys have it?
I can't remember. I think like a 4 or 5. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it gave
out of 10,
6.
Not a 5 out of 5, right? Not a 4 or
no,
5
out of 10. Yeah. Let me proof it. Yeah. 4 out of 10. 4 or 5 out of 10. I honestly can't remember, and I'm pretty sure the grade
I think you give it a 3. Yeah, 3, 4 out of 10. I'm pretty sure.
I gave it a 6. And it's not because of Flash. It's because I really appreciated what Supergirl and Michael Keaton did.
Yes. I feel that.
I think that gets just slid under the rug. But it just a quick aside there. The Flash, Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle? I give it out of 10 a 7.5. Which for a character that has never had anything live action is a very, very big thing. That's a big deal. I think because I know people hear 7, 8 out of 10, 7 is normally an above average movie.
Yeah. Let's just remember, if it's out of 10, the middle point is a 5. So mid 7's actually a pretty good score. Yeah.
Especially when it's leaning towards the 8.
Yeah.
7.5 out of 10.
Brando, what'd you give?
I believe I gave it a 7.4. 7.4,
what?
Right after I viewed it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to go on my whole gist of going 0.1 or 0.2.
I was about to say why 7.4.
I'm pretty sure I remember posting on my story a 7.4.
You did say something odd.
I put a rating in there. But it was great. I mean, it had a little bit of flaws in there. Just every movie's got flaws nowadays, but I liked it. I'm very excited to see I have hope for the DCU.
Yeah.
Big old
last time I went out of a superhero movie with a sense of hope. It's been a while. We will dive into that more.
And I think the good thing is I too feel it's a 7.5. Right? It's not a 7. I'm like, but an 8. I'm like, I don't know. It's 7.5. It's somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
But in today's modern superhero movie, to walk out of an intro movie and feel that it's a 7.5 and you can argue an 8, maybe, that's massive. That is a massive win. Massive, massive, massive. And going into this, just real quick, going into this movie, it had so many things working against it. And I know everyone's saying, oh, it didn't have an Ezra Miller stuff, blah, 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 blah. Listen, the amount of people who had no clue who Blue Beetle, go back and listen to the Point 3 podcast when we did the announcement for when the trailer first dropped. And we did our trivia of like, who were the first 2 Blue Beetles? I don't know. I could definitely tell you who they are now. But Blue Beetle, unless you were playing, we talked about this last week, Injustice, maybe you watch some animated stuff. Blue Beetle is not on your radar. Sick design that was never in question for Jaime Reyes, but how does it translate live action? And to walk out of this and be like, oh my gosh, it translated live action and made you want to see him in the future. I will throw this out here. When James Gunn said, movie might not matter, but here's a character introduction, we're going to see this character in the DCU in the future. If he didn't say that, my fingers would be on fire on like, well, what do we call it now? X? It's not Twitter. X. And Threads. I mean, like, James, why is Jaime Reyes not on the radar for your DCU? He's that good.
Yeah. And man, I have to give it to the effects team on that movie, because I think it's something that I haven't seen too many people talk about. But when I learned that a lot of this is practical and CG, I mean, it shows, and it shows in the best ways possible. The suit looks fantastic. The entire, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but the scene with it's in the trailer. The scene with the giant beetle, that they're moving in.
Oh yeah,
that looked awesome, man. It was so good. Like everything, the shape shifts with his hands and arms. Oh my god, I thought
it fit in with the background very well.
Absolutely. It gives me hope that if they do this with like Green Lantern, guys, Green Lantern is gonna be sick. If they do this practical CG hybrid of effects, man,
easy money. And I had this conversation with someone, right? They're saying, well, you know, Max is supposed to get the Green Lantern show. Guys and gals, sorry. You have to remember that this movie was not supposed to come out in theaters. This was made for Max. They switched it. They saw how good it was, and they flipped it very similarly to kind of like an Armor Wars type of thing that Disney's doing, moving it from Disney Plus to putting it in theaters. Fantastic call. That was, for as much as Warner Brothers and DC, they're all getting handed left and right some garbage. This decision to move forward with this movie, knowing that it didn't get the support that it absolutely deserved in hindsight, and that they made that change, massive win for that decision.
And let's be honest, the movie still outperformed. Yeah. Like, people don't realize that the movie outperformed, because look at how many box office people were like, the experts were like, oh, this movie ain't making more than like 10, 15 mil opening day or opening weekend. Then they're like, maybe 20 mil. And then it made about 25.
I think 25.
25.5 for
Barbie.
4. Yeah, it beat Barbie, which, let's be honest, that's insane, because Barbie has been on a fire streak and it's gone against tough competition. Yeah. It hasn't been up there on its own. It's been going against a lot of different movies. Mm-hmm. So for Blue Beetle to dethrone it, even if it's not by much, the fact that it still did is a massive success in Warner Brothers or for DC, I think. Yeah. And I know last week we were talking more personally about how, and I'll have to take back what I said, because I didn't make the comments and I still do believe it, that DC ultimately still does look at the bottom line, and maybe not DC, but Warner Brothers does. But I don't see how they don't see this as a win. It'd be very weird, because every fan, that at least the true-hearted fans, Not the bad faith ones, because the bad faith ones they're always going to be out there saying stupid stuff. But the ones who genuinely like DC and who gave this an open shot, who knew nothing about Blue Beetle, are now like, yo, Blue Beetle was really cool.
Very cool. I'm curious what you guys think of this, because I know we've been talking about, and we have been mulling over kind of, you have the combination of MCU, DCU, DCEU, Marvel Studios. We're missing some classic things that made these superhero movies great since 2008. And I think Blue Beetle was kind of going into this. I'm someone who read a lot of reviews, and we've discussed this, where people are saying it's very formulaic. It's predictable. It takes a lot from other movies. The Iron Man references with Stain, Ant-Man. Oh, he looks like Spider-Man, and he's supposed to be a younger guy, Iron Spider. No, we're good. I didn't. None of they did enough to tweak the generic superhero formula, in my opinion, to make this feel a little bit different, but also show you that a back to basics movie really works. You just have to have a different flavor with it, and I thought that brought this to the table. So my question to you guys is, do you think that this formula for introducing young characters worked? Was there enough that you got from Jaime? Was there enough that you got him within the suit? Did you see enough of the powers? Was the villain good enough? And the supporting characters, did they show up to kind of make this a very complete movie?
I'll defer to Spider Brenda on that, because I know that was kind of one of you talked about his family a little bit in our private chat.
It was awesome. It was not many superhero movies revolve around like the whole family. Usually there's like, I mean, to be sensitive, it's always like a dead parent, dead uncle.
Tragic. Super
tragic event. And where it usually just evolves around like 1 to 2 family members. But this was the whole crew, and the whole community as well was freaking cool. Did we break the spoiler territory yet?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
All right. So there is tragedy, unfortunately, for those who haven't seen it, but it pays off at the end and throughout the movie. Like, it's freaking. It happened in like the little predictable moment, but not too predictable, because like I think it could have happened anywhere during that fight scene. And to me, like, one of the reasons why I said it felt like it had so much hope was it gave me like the sense of what the Batman did at the end of it, after he saved Gotham and the whole city was flooded, and you got to see Pattinson just going around saving just being with the civilians and Gotham residents, just helping him out, pick people up. And that's like a nice sense of hope that like there's a brighter future in this world. As well as Tobey's Spider-Man 2 train scene with the whole civilians on the train ride protecting his identity after he pretty much needed to freaking be helped out a lot. And then you're like, damn, like there's some good, like people are good.
Yeah.
Like general people are good and not just superheroes. And this movie killed that.
And
I loved it.
I was gonna say, adding to the point that Lou, you said, and then Spider Brenner that you kind of touched on, how people sometimes think of an origin story and they're like, oh, it's gonna be boring, it's too predictable, blah blah blah. And sure, right, things can be predictable, but what I think people forget is that at times the predictable answer is sometimes the best answer.
Absolutely.
Like, you don't need to go and completely do something out of left field just to be like, gotcha. You know, you didn't see that coming, did you?
Yeah.
And it's like, but why do that, right? when it didn't, because then the complaint is going to be, well, that didn't make sense. Why didn't they just do the other thing? So, and I think people kind of forget that at times, that people are like, oh, well, the villain was too predictable. Jaime's family. And it's like, sure. But at times it's just good to see that. Like,
Yeah.
it's just good to go into a movie and be like,
it's nice.
yeah, that was nice. Like, they didn't pull the rug and they weren't trying to be something they weren't. I came in, I got a movie about family with this kid that got cool powers who's fighting for his family.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, that's what you get. And is it predictable at times? Sure, but it didn't make it any less cool to see.
Yeah.
Like we
predictable nowadays, which is the
yeah.
part.
Like we knew there's going to be a scene of him finally mastering his powers. Yet when he does, it was still really cool to see him do all that.
Right.
So I sometimes I don't think, the predictable answer is a bad thing necessarily.
No, and it's the execution of those predictable moments, because if you were to tell me there are three things that I would say stuck out to me. One, I wasn't expecting George Lopez to be as lovable as I actually thought he was in this.
George Lopez did great.
He was my MVP of the movie. He wholeheartedly was my MVP. I loved what he added. It didn't feel like it was too much. It was just enough. I've been a George Lopez fan for a very long time. Watched the show, everything. It was great to see him,
especially waking up at 3 a.m.
Yep.
To Lowrider. So definitely been a fan since those days.
Core memory in everybody's mind.
Oh, that's good. That's good. But the predictable moment when it came to Jaime's dad,
dude, heartbreaking.
Yeah,
heartbreaking.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively. Too soon, Brandos. Too soon.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, but I agree, right? Like that scene where they just can't do anything, and you knew it was coming, but it still sucked to watch. It was like, oh, what a gut punch.
Which is
reminded me of. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Trust me.
It reminded me of the whole theme of Across the Spider-Verse, of trying to do both and two things at once. And this is like with Gwen trying to save Miles but keep the canon event of Mumbain's world going, or Miles himself trying to do both. Like Jaime was in very similar situation of freaking trying to help his father versus getting beat up. Tough times. Tough times.
Yeah, and that whole scene right there when they were attacking the house, it wasn't as simple to me as, oh, he shows up, the bad guys are there, then his family is put in a compromising position, and then he has to stop them. He came in, remember, that was after he's like, okay, I'm going to activate my powers. I'm going to make a choice. And he kind of got that superpower high, where he's like, let's go. If you really think about it, and if you'd have told him, hey, Jaime, if you go to this moment, you go back in time, your dad's going to die. He does not do that and all of that the same way. That is going to be a very different situation. But that's where you go and you get your character development, where you get him on a journey, where you get him on an arc of that was his first mistake, essentially, if you really think about it. I'm not saying his dad wouldn't have had a heart attack. Most likely his dad was going to have a heart attack again. They alluded to that from the very beginning. That was on the table. But is it the stress that Jaime put his father in to ultimately cause that to happen in that moment? Or was it just, it was always going to happen? I'm just saying, if he's more conscious and doesn't have that high of this is my first big moment to save my family, and I'm on stage and I perform all while missing what's going on around me, when he could have protected his family the whole time and gotten them out of there. He could have, but he didn't. And look what happened. He got distracted, got captured, his father died, and then we have to go through kind of that whole thing of saving his family at the end. Not saying it's his fault. I'm just saying that's another stepping stone on him being a hero experiencing that loss, but those are teachable moments for him of there are high stakes. It is a great power, great responsibility moment. And that power was misused, and maybe directly, maybe indirectly, it cost someone close to him their life. So it's little stuff like that. Like, yes, there's predictable things that happen, but they're just steps to him becoming a greater hero.
Yeah, and when you think about it, we talk about Jaime's family, which is, I think, definitely one of the highlights of this whole movie, because they work so well together. You know, the chemistry they have is that of a very real family. But in reality, this entire movie plays on the idea of family, because you have what's Victoria Cord and Jenny Cord, what that family dynamic is, and then you have Carapax with his family dynamic. It shows you family through different views and what that can do to a person, you know, and what that can mean to people. Jenny with her father and her mother.
Yes.
You know, it's all over this movie. So it's a central core theme that I think people don't really delve that deep into. But I think it's just fantastic. And the fact that they brought in Victoria Cord and Jenny Cord and her father, you know, her father being the second Blue Beetle, and then all that, I thought that was great. Like, the fact that they continue to play with the history of Blue Beetle and really pay homage to that, I think was awesome.
The opening,
so much.
In the opening, I was very surprised that they went through such a layout of the history of Blue Beetle before we got really into the movie in the airport scene. Very surprised. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah. It just goes to show you that the Flash, to an extent, I will say that, right? I'll give that to them. It feels like DC's starting to care about its history again.
Yeah.
You know, the Flash did it a little bit. This movie's doing it a little bit as well, where it's like, we realize that people actually care about our characters. And when we show that we care, they care, you know, a little more. And honestly, if this is what the DC universe under James Gunn can look like, Marvel needs to watch out. We've been saying it, but if this is what they keep doing,
it's got a little more heart to it. I will give that to the Flash. Flash had a little bit. I think Flash had a gajillion mistakes, but I don't think that you can doubt. I don't want to say the first part, but Supergirl, Keaton, like, their performances, like, you felt like they actually kind of cared about their character, and especially with Sasha Kaye coming back, and she's like, I wanted to be this. I wanted Henry Cavill's blessing to do the super character justice, and to do the Superman character in the female version of it, for a lot of people, essentially, of how they look at it, justice. In this movie, I mean, dude, heart, family, everything that you said. I thought it was cool too. I wanted to bring this up and see what you guys thought, because I know people didn't really care necessarily for the love story between Jenny and Jaime at first. I mean, don't get me wrong, that ending, I was like, all right, let's go. I was like, got a little warm there, but I thought that she was an underrated, very valuable character to this movie. I really like Jenny. I've seen mixed reviews on her. I can't think of the actress's name, so forgive me, but maybe you could say plot conveniences when it came to their relationship, and how he just happened to be there and these things just happened to happen. But the relationship with her and her dad, and how she explained how the Blue Beetle lore was explained through Jenny's character, I thought paid massive dividends to this movie.
I agree. I liked her character. I thought she was gonna be like extremely annoying, like stuck up type of how do I say it? Stuck up type.
like snobby.
Character. I was just like snobby, like she just wants to do her own thing. Which she kind of was at first, until she realized that she put this kid in such a terrible position, and was like, the least I could do is help out. And seeing her learn what a true family was, Chef's kiss. Spider Brando, chef's kiss certified right there.
Absolutely. Great influence from the Reyes
Yeah.
family. 100%.
Yeah, and she has the direct, I guess, mirror of herself and her aunt with Jaime and what's George Lopez's character's name?
Rudy.
Yeah,
Rudy. There you
Rudy.
go. With Rudy, like that's the direct mirror to her and her aunt. It's what she, I feel like, in a way, wishes that it could be. You know, they never really explained that she really wanted that kind of relationship, but you can tell it hurts to have a aunt who just wants to erase the legacy of your father versus Rudy, who always looks up to him. You know, he looks up to his brother and he cares for him deeply. And that brings such an admiration from Jaime to him.
Yeah. Dude, it was clutch.
Just telling you, man, this movie at a surface level seems very basic. But I think once you delve a little deeper, it does really well. It does really, like, even Carabax. Because at first, I'll be honest, and I remember when we talked about it back like a long time ago when the leak came out of what his suit looked like. We were like, he looks kind of stupid.
Pacific Rim 2.0.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, I think Spider-Man, you said that exact thing. It looks like a Pacific Rim suit. And as you go through the movie, you're just like, oh, so he's just Blue Beetle, but like a man-made version. And sure, but then they go and they add why they need the Blue Beetle, why they need the Scarab, but then they also just give him such a tragic backstory.
Yeah.
That I don't think they would have done. Like, the whole time they're talking about sacrifices, and you're like, yeah, so this guy's given up everything.
Yep.
And it's like, no, this guy was taken from everything.
Taken.
Against his will as a child.
And now,
a little bit.
100%.
Experimentations and all that stuff.
What do you think she's going to do with all those, was it OMAC suits?
Yeah.
Somebody's getting thrown in all that stuff. You think she cares? No.
Nope.
If she got, like, there were real big implications if Jaime did not stop.
Yeah.
Carapax and Victoria Cord did not get stopped in the end. Like, that would have been a mess.
Yeah. And again, it plays into the theme of family, because it's like, if this man kept his mother, he's probably not the same guy.
Different situation.
Actually, he's not the same guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's not. And then once he finally realizes of what family can do and what it really means, that's when he looks at Jaime and he's like, in his mind, he never really says it, but you can see the understanding of, you're better than me. Not because of your suit and everything. You're a better man because of the people you have around you. So keep them. Go help them.
That's what I took. That's what I took from that.
Yeah.
It wasn't a 1-to-1 of like, I'm a better Blue Beetle than you are or anything like that. It's, you are a good man because you surrounded yourself and you are surrounded with a family, really good people. And you got that, and you take that and you go all the way to the beginning of the movie. His family put him through Gotham Law School, whatever it was.
Through college, yeah.
Through college. At the expense of their home, their business. They had no money. They're essentially getting tossed from their house. And Jaime is like, why didn't you tell me? Like, I would have came home. I would have gotten another job. I would have helped and done all that. They loved him enough to sacrifice everything that they had so that he could have a chance to have more. And then he has a conversation with his sister, who is low-key really funny in the entire movie. And she helps him out. He helps it. Like, it was just really cool to see, because that's real world stuff.
I was going to say that it reminded me of me and my sister, and that's kind of how we are at times, you know. And it's like, man, they nailed it, man. They nailed the family. Like, you want to look at what a real family looks like in a movie, freaking watch Blue Beetle. It was so good.
Yeah.
And I know everybody said it, and I have to include myself in it too, but the Latino, you know, that Latino family is what it looks like, you know. Mine isn't Mexican, but I mean, there's a lot of things that I saw. I'm like, yeah. The fact that like his grandma or mom wakes him up with the vapor rub, The mixed vapor
Dude,
rub. I'm like,
Oh, that
Vapor
was
Porro.
hilarious.
yeah. I was like, dog, get out of here. That's
Dude,
so
I was
funny.
cracking up as soon as I saw that. I was like, bro, Vicks Vapor Rub. I'm sick. Put it on.
And the grandma with the sewing machine, I'm like, that's my grandma. I'm like, what the heck?
But watch
Just
out.
little things like
Fast.
that, man.
Oh, I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was such a good, so many subtle things in here. And for a lot of people, it's cool that we could talk about this because I don't know your guys' experiences when it comes to this, and you guys don't know mine. But I think where some people are like, oh, it's good for the Latino community, it's and all that, and it's just stuff that if you don't know, it's missed. So you don't have that experience and what can elevate someone to say, oh, this is a 7.5, this is an 8. If you don't know what you're looking for, great. But then you have conversations with people and they're like, this is why I loved it. So when you watch it a second time, or you can just recall it and remember, you're just like, oh, that is a cool moment. I actually do like that they put that kind of stuff in. That's a boost in the movie. Not necessarily how cool his sword was, but just the fact of the core of this movie. But I do want to talk about the looks of this movie for a second, because I see your Totally Awesome comic shirt, that 80s font, the synth music, the color scheme that they had. Oh,
Dude,
shout out.
I was gonna say I'm sorry, Spider-Man. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, nailed it. That's it.
What was the city name? Palmeiras City.
Yeah,
bro, what a great looking fake city.
for sure.
Because you look at this and you're like, yo, this city's fake, but they did it so well. Like it just looks awesome. Like from the part where his family lives, looking onto the city, just all the bright neon lights when they're flying through it. It's like, man, this looks like what a fictional city should feel like almost. Where, like, you look at Gotham and Gotham always just looks like New York.
Great.
Yeah, it's just great. It honestly, most of the time, it's just New York. You know, the Flash's city, what is it, Central City, didn't really look like anything in the Flash. It just felt like another place.
Yeah.
But here they immediately establish you are somewhere else in this fictional world, and it looks awesome. The font, the colors pop everywhere in this movie. That's why I'm saying, man, if they do the same thing they did with this on a Green Lantern, oof. Get ready for
I believe they will be. I know I saw James Gunn tweeting about how they're doing a whole like crazy detailed world map of the DCU. So that's gonna be cool to be mapped out.
And to that point, that is what's going to help, subtle things that'll help separate DCU from MCU.
yes.
And it's even the subtle shift, and I like because Angel Manuel Soto even mentioned it, how they wanted to change his city, because Jaime Reyes is from El Paso, Texas.
Yeah.
They still played homage to that because they lived on El Paso Street.
Yeah.
But Palmera City was a great choice for the reasons Hero Scroll was laying out and what Spider Brandon was talking about. But it's not Chicago, New York, LA, even though I felt like it was Miami. But
I was gonna say it felt a little more Miami.
but it added another element of sci-fi and fantasy to this. So when you do get something where you're like, you're just like, man, it's Palmera City. Like, do you live in Palmera City? No, it's made up, so it can be whatever it wants to be. And you're just like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's one thing I like about DC more is that they're always known for their random made cities. And kind of like Metropolis, Central City, Gotham, obviously inspired by real cities, Star City too, so many others, and then all the Marvel comics, just California, here in San Francisco,
they're all in New York.
Towers in New York, they're all in New York, and 50 different areas that somehow buildings aren't overlapping on each other.
Although I will say that's something that bugged me in Batman versus Superman when sitting in Metropolis is like the big city in Kansas, right? It's a Midwest city. And I'm thinking Gotham City is New York. And the guy's like looking over the pier and he's like, oh, I can see Gotham from
Right
here.
there. Yeah.
It's like, where is it? Across the other side of the Mississippi?
It's like, what kind of map did you guys draw? That was a terrible idea. I don't know.
They just
That
drew
always
two. They
stuck
just
with
threw
me.
2 darts on a map.
Yeah, it's like Grand
Like,
Theft
all
Auto,
right,
bro.
that's where they'll be.
And I was gonna say, honestly, but that's the cool thing about DC. Like Spider Brando said, that the city feels like another character at times, especially when they do it right. The city feels like another, because Gotham. When you think of Gotham, you think of Batman immediately, and you think of one of the worst fictional cities to ever live in. Because as of right now, I'm playing through Arkham Knight again.
Oh, nice.
And you really realize how much Gotham feels like Gotham. Like they did such a good job with that world. But then you look at a series like The Flash on the CW, I think it does a good job too of like that central city. Feels like, The Flash's city.
Yeah.
It's another character in that story. And for Blue Beetle, they did that phenomenal. Such a good job with that.
Yeah. No, A+. Favorite moment?
I don't know why, but the Scarab holding Jaime back and telling him we are not killers. I don't know why I really enjoyed that moment.
I didn't want to go into it and talk about the No Way Home parallels that I saw in this movie that like were like direct one-to-ones. But I personally think that this could rival, I don't want to say it because I know no one's going to agree with me, but I thought that moment was more impactful for Jaime in a way than it was for Tom when Toby stopped him from hitting Goblin with the glider. Only reason I'll say that is because you don't know anything about Blue Beetle and they're establishing it. And there's a moment where you're thinking like, how far did they push it? Did they do the DC thing and they just have him kill him? And even though like it's Man of Steel, I didn't think that Superman was going to do what he did to Zod and literally be un-Superman-like in the very first time we see him. That's where my head went. And the moment was more impactful, not for a character necessarily, but for the hope for the future of like, oh my gosh, they're actually sticking to a character. Why would he do this? He wouldn't do it. They didn't just throw it in there just to sauce it up for no reason to be like, look, we have a character who looks really cool and kills people. Come buy our stuff. Go see our next movie. I just felt like that was a good sign of minimal executive intervention. Sorry. Random side note.
No. You're
That's
perfectly
good.
fine.
I picked up on the similarity as soon as they did that. And I immediately thought of Toby stopping that, but I can't say I could agree that it's more impactful. I have to admit that. I didn't think about it in the moment, but
It's more impactful. I was gonna say it's more impactful for Jaime as a person, where it's like this is definitely for you. Where in No Way Home, that moment I think is a lot more for Toby. Where I'm not saying everything is, but a lot of the problems that come from Spider-Man 2 and 3 are from the fact that he wasn't able to save Norman. And that's his redemption. In the same way that Andrew saved MJ and not being able to save Gwen, this time it's him being able to save Norman in that way. Because if you think about it, he's going to get stabbed by the glider again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was more for Toby and a teaching moment for Tom, but a lot more for Toby. Because and the difference is we do know that, Spider-Man will kind of murder someone if it comes down to it. Jaime won't really. So I don't know. That's just me though.
I think it's enough that if he does in the future, that would feel very out of character and something would be wrong.
Yeah.
The symbiotic connection, something would be off. Someone is, there could be something greater or different in play causing him to do that. Because I think that was their sync up of like, I'm with you, you're with me, I get you, you get me. We are combined, we're one. everything that fake Sanchez was saying is now true when he was reading that. I also, low-key, I'm throwing that out here, the way that they portrayed the old white lady who is just super racist. Oh my god. Like, I mean, they did a good job when I don't know his entire full name, but I was waiting for him to snap on her and be like, bro, I know that's not your name. I'm just waiting for you to be like, whoosh.
Yeah. What makes that moment even funnier to me is the fact that his name is nowhere near Sanchez. It is
Bro, just
nowhere near
so you see
close.
someone brown and like, oh, definitely Sanchez.
Yeah.
No.
Nowhere near close to being Sanchez. I was like, that was great. That was really well done.
Yeah.
But I was still surprised that they just brutally murder him.
Dude, he got
dang.
destroyed, man.
I know.
He got wrecked.
When that door window was there and we saw his face, and I was just like, no. Bro had his moments out. He had his
He did.
Spider-Man, do you have a favorite moment?
Him learning his powers are going through the Scarab, going through the whole testing phase with them. I loved it. Like
That was
the scene of him almost going into the water is what stood out for me also, just because like he just so fast and just boom, just instant brakes. He's like hit the brake right before the water is, and that shit. Those are some nice brakes he's got.
Yeah, I did.
I don't know why I like fun stuff like that. And going into the movie, I was hoping they would do like I guess Homecoming-esque thing, like Tom and Karen getting along.
Yeah,
and learning the power. So that was cool to see Jaime's version of it.
That's a good point.
And also, I have. Do you guys that the voice of the Scarab? I need to know who it is or what it is because it was sounding so familiar to me the entire time.
Becky G.
Becky G.
I'm pretty sure that's who it is.
Is it really?
I think so.
Hold on, I'm gonna look it up while
because there's this one anime that I highly recommend called "That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime," and I am 99% sure that
what?
You can watch it on
That
Netflix.
Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime.
I've never heard of that.
That is a great anime. That dude, Rimuru solos anybody.
Okay, yes, Becky G.
That slime solos anybody. You'll watch 2 episodes.
I haven't watched it yet.
The first 2 episodes and you'll realize what I'm talking about. That dude's OP.
Or
Goku done. One Punch Man done. Like it's insane.
Bro, listen, we're not ready for that type of backlash yet. No, don't get the Goku fans in here. I'm a Goku fan. But
hey, I'm a Goku fan myself, but
don't get him in here. I don't.
Dude,
we don't need that right now.
Ultra Instinct times 20. Like it's.
Oh God! Stop, Brandon.
That man is OP.
You're gonna break our our fan base.
Shattered.
But I'm pretty sure Rimuru has this little voice assistant. Rimuru is the main character also. Has a little voice assistant that I swear is the same as the Scarab or Becky G.
Right? It is her, isn't it?
It is Becky G, yes.
Yeah. It is, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It is Becky G.
Fellas, I gotta say, my favorite parts, for as cliche as this may be, my favorite parts were, and what I think I was most interested in this movie was Jaime's fight with Carapax. The first time that they met, and how Carapax was legit with the Olmec suit on, or Olmec suit. And then once he actually did get the Blue Beetle powers and put it in and straight morphed into what we saw in the full Carapax, like toy and Funkos and all that kind of stuff. But like what solidified me, I'm not saying I was on the fence about Zolo's performance this whole time, but what really put me over the edge where I was like, this is okay. This is like a Vamanos Let's Go moment where I'm on the edge of my seat in this, and I'm just like fist into my hand, was when he had his mask that was cracked and you saw half of his face and then you saw the Blue Beetle's mask still. and you saw all the emotion finally come through, and you saw him like getting into it. I loved that moment at the end when he was going in right before he was going to do it, and then bam, like nope, we don't kill.
Yeah, that was great because I think they pull straight up his super move from Injustice 2 with
They
the giant cannon.
They did. That was freaking
I was like,
sick.
I saw it and I was like, oh snap, that's Injustice 2 super.
It was legit.
Which props to them because again, I will go on record and say I think that combo wise, he's kind of not great, and his super is also kind of not great. It's definitely one of the weaker supers in Injustice 2. But the fact that they made it look cool in live action, dog, great. Props to the team. Props to the VFX team for that because that was great. This gigantic just beam cannon. I'm like, Spider Brando, give it. What is it? We need one. We haven't had one in a minute.
Oh, here I was looking for the banner. I'm sorry. Spider Brando Chef's Kiss certified.
I love it.
Very
I love it.
beautiful.
I love it.
Honestly, I am today years old that I realized you could have two banners up at once. That's pretty cool.
Well, we got to shout out to the software on that one.
Shout out to
Yeah,
Great.
on point. It's on point, baby.
Yeah.
It is on point.
There we
you go.
Okay, last thing. I have one last thing. If you could have added and or changed anything in this movie, what would it have been?
You go first.
No, my answer is nothing.
Really?
I don't. I mean, I could have sat there for another 2 hours and kept watching the movie.
Me too. Make it longer.
Yeah,
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what I would add.
Okay, if I had real quick, if I had to pick something, maybe it would have been something along the lines of Dan Garrett or Ted Cord having a little more involvement.
I actually would have saved mine for if the only thing I would add, right, and I know it's kind of out there to say, but if I wanted to connect it to the greater DC universe, especially because we know this is coming, send the fact that nobody knows where Ted Cord is.
Yeah.
Send him to the future. Because there you get him with
Booster Gold, baby.
Booster Gold. That's the only thing I think I would have done. Where it's like confirm that he's, because I think they're going to confirm that he's somewhere on some remote island stuck. I will be shocked if they say he's in the future. But that's the direction I would go, that he's stuck in the future. And then that's where he learns and becomes his best friend with Booster Gold. So
it's possible. From what I was reading, like the production history of this movie, and Booster Gold was supposed to have like a huge impact in it. Back in when it was in I think 2020 when it was in production. It was supposed to be originally a Booster Gold Blue Beetle project. It got scrapped a lot.
I was gonna say, was it supposed to be a Ted Cord movie then?
That I can't recall off the top of my head. I have to find the article, but
I wouldn't have liked that. I think even if it was, I think they made a great choice going Jaime first.
I think so too. I think so too.
You can go back and you can do a prequel. That's one of the things I always yap about with Ant-Man. I really don't care about Scott Lang anymore, but I would love if they went back and gave us the original Ant-Man and the Wasp, their adventures and that kind of stuff. I would watch that.
But that's why I say, especially since we know a Booster Gold show's coming, I mean, it's kind of hard to have Booster Gold without Blue Beetle, especially with him being basically his best bud, you know?
He's literally in his photo in the encyclopedia as Booster Gold and Ted Cord.
Yeah, they're at the hip together. So I mean, I think that's the only thing I would have added, and that's kind of a future state type thing.
They
I
could.
don't even. Yeah,
They could. You couldn't even see the guy's face. They could still have anyone cast anyone and do whatever they want. That was smart.
yeah. So I think it was just more of a. That's my head canon. But
like it.
nothing else, I guess. This movie's great. If you haven't seen it, if you're watching, you're more than if you're watching this in the future and you haven't seen Blue Beetle, do yourself a service. Pause our video. Go listen to some other DC talks that we have. Go watch Blue Beetle and then come back and listen to the rest of this. Or actually, if you made it this far and you're listening to this now, rewind it to the beginning and then listen to us again.
Dude, real quick side note, I think. Oh wait, who won our box office prediction?
I did.
Spider-Man,
No,
That was
Spider-Man
0.2
did.
away, baby. It was 25.
You were
I said
hyped for that.
25.6, 25.4, baby. Oh,
You were hyped for that.
I was so hyped. We've never been that close before. I was 0.2.
That's
Yeah, I
solid.
don't-
A 0.3. It could have been 0.3.
So you have
but
2
it was
wins on the
0.2.
season.
2.
Yeah, because I think you.
Oh,
you,
yeah. I
you
was
did.
still like 30 million off on. I was the closest, but it was still like 20
Yeah,
million.
no, but you still got it.
Closest wins.
Yeah,
Take it.
Closest
we're off our game, man.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, this
A great.
box office is so hard to predict, especially in these
Crazy times.
Yeah.
Well, this is a great way to, because we don't have anything else for summer, right? This is the last summer superhero movie.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe
we
this
got
is the last thing.
Loki next. Loki, no.
But that's a fall.
Yeah,
Loki's
October,
in the
then
fall.
November. It's
It's
December. We
normal.
have good old Aquaman.
Boo.
Are we still getting that?
I think it was confirmed today that Warner Brothers is moving forward with December release.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if not Aquaman, we know at least we're getting Loki, the Marvels, and Echo.
Yes.
And for the Star Wars fans, Ahsoka is currently premiering, and I've heard some great things about
I
that.
have as well.
I might.
I've heard mixed bags,
I gotta get on it.
so I don't know.
I've heard good things from casuals. Those that are in it don't like it.
So
Really?
normal Star Wars
Yep,
fans.
that's what I was gonna say. I feel like
normal
it's
Star Wars fans
normal stuff, but
who just
One of
they're
my
like, oh, this
friends
is trash.
Friends is a huge fan of Rebels and Star Wars. He gave the first 2 episodes 9 out of 10.
Oh wow. I'll be honest, I haven't seen a single episode of Rebels.
Neither have I. I gotta watch a
Spotty.
recap.
I would have to watch. I would watch everything over again. I couldn't talk Star Wars for more than 30 seconds.
Yeah. And to be quite honest with how fans are for Star Wars, I don't know if I want to.
Big reason why I don't talk about Star Wars.
Yeah.
That could be a different conversation
Star
for a
Wars is
different day.
tough.
It is
Sequel
very tough.
trilogy. Whew.
Don't let's not touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Had to get
We-
canceled.
We can go back and talk about this in December, maybe end of November. I think the Marvels will give us a Star Wars-esque like fandom moving into 2020.
Oof. I hope that movie's good.
Listen,
I hope the movie's
I will
good.
say this from Blue Beetle, just talking. I know we're crossing lines here, going from CU, DCU, and all that kind of stuff, but there is no pleasing superhero fandom overall.
Not anymore. It's just impossible.
You're never gonna get it 100%. But I think what just makes it challenging is even when the movie's good, that you still have to defend it because some very loud minority is talking and saying stupid stuff about the movie and pointing at sources that aren't in good faith.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know. It's not fun. It's not fun to talk with those kinds of people because it's like, again, I'm not saying that you have to like Blue Beetle or any other superhero movie. If you don't like it, you don't like it, and that's more than okay. But be at least willing to have a conversation about it. Like, as much as we hate the Flash, we'll talk about the Flash, and I will listen out to what you have to say with the Flash. But nothing's going to change my mind. I still don't like that movie. But will I listen to what you have to say? And can I understand why you like this movie? Absolutely.
Sure. That's
But
the
I think
difference.
that movie's trash. But
That's
people
just
don't
facts.
know how to do that.
No,
We
and
gotta like what everybody else likes, or
yeah.
what they think is right is what everybody should think is right.
Yes.
But I think the
'Cause
hard thing
The
that
only
you
thing that applies to Spider-Man. Everybody should love Spider-Man.
everyone
my opinion.
should love Spider-Man, but I'm going to be honest with you. The next time that we see Spider-Man, I guarantee you people are going to be much harder on a Tom Holland solo Spider-Man.
Oh, I believe it.
People are already tough on Homecoming and Far From Home. And then you have the saving grace that is Andrew and Toby that made it. I'm not saying that Tom Holland is a fantastic Spider-Man. Fantastic. But what people aren't satisfied and they find a way. See, here's the hard part, right? The superhero genre is teetering. People are going to make decisions in the higher up level to maximize profits. And if that means slashing budgets, cutting projects, whatever it might be to make that happen, to make the bottom line good, they will, which means there's a chance that we may miss out on projects that are fantastic with fantastic people who are producing them. So when you have a Blue Beetle, instead of seeing things as this is the lowest and worst DC box office ever, let's lift these movies up because this is a good movie. So these same pages and these same large people all over social media who are saying worst, but then they flip and for something that they want to defend, such as Flash, oh no, forget about this. Forget about the Green Lantern, Ryan Reynolds comparisons. Doesn't matter. It's a great movie. Forget about the Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, Letterboxd, all those scores. It doesn't matter. People don't know what they're talking about. But then you have it for this movie and they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant because it's the lowest scoring DC movie. It's like,
and I was gonna say it exists on both sides because you look at something like this past week, the rumor mill on Thor 5 has started going up, and people are like, "Yo, if Marvel makes a Thor 5, they're stupid. If it's the end of Marvel if they make a Thor 5," and they don't really realize that Love and Thunder made bank for them. It made about as much as Guardians of the Galaxy did. I think they're both at that like 750 million range, which if you don't understand, that's a lot of money post-COVID. And this did it before Guardians. So it still did relatively well. If you look at the critic score to audience score, there's a huge difference. Audiences still enjoy this movie.
mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, sure, you might have not liked Thor Love and Thunder, but does it make sense for them to do it? Absolutely. And you know why? Because they still listen to you because they hear you saying, hey, we want legacy MCU characters. Guess who is one of the only legacy MCU characters that's alive? Thor. And you know who's marketable still? Thor.
Yeah.
So you know who they're going to make a movie of? Thor. And they don't really remember that also studios do listen to you. I think they do. Not all, but I do think Marvel does. And I think Marvel learns from its mistakes. And if you get a Thor 5, I don't think you get Taika back. I don't think Taika wants to come back after Thor Love and Thunder. But even if he does, I think he knows and learns from his mistakes. And will give you something genuinely worth watching.
It's hard to say though when there's a movie like The Flash that exists and all the production. Like you would think after director after director after director, they would have learned from their mistakes.
But that's more of one of those like development hell type movies where It just
That's
really
fair.
couldn't catch a break. And we know that.
That's
I mean,
fair.
it's kind of proven that when movies go after rewrite and change hands so many times, it really never ends up well.
Mm-hmm.
Because it gets redone so many times. It really loses the essence of what it needs to be. It's like the phone game, where
Yeah.
someone tells you one thing and then when at the end of it it's completely different. Same thing with when you start with one director and just go to the other one.
That's why I always say go to IMDb, look at who gets the credits for the movie. When you have a list of names for people who wrote this movie, that's typically not a great sign. That's a red flag for me.
And that's why when we did our ranking on trilogies of the MCU, Thor's tends to be in the bottom half for a lot of people because it changes directors. And like we said before, it changes the plot points that they're trying to bring up. And again, you just look at what Thor the Dark World sets up and then how it just gets thrown away in Ragnarok. But it gets forgiven because Ragnarok is pretty good. But you think about it, they waste some really good plot points for the sake of a joke in Ragnarok.
Yeah. That's why I say no to a Taika return personally. I would rather have more of I mean, this is getting into a specific character, but like the Rune King type of Thor, someone who essentially is going to replace Odin, but also bring him back with Loki. There's still a lot of things you can tie in with Thor that's very MCU relevant.
I think Thor, there's bias with me, especially with the Donny Cates run, to where he becomes the All-Father after Jason Aaron's run. But I do think All-Father Thor is kind of where they need to go at this point. Just because I think that is what makes sense for him in storyline too. I don't think they're going to do that just because of what Love and Thunder set up. And I feel like whoever picks up after him are still going to pick up with that plot point. But a more serious Thor, I think, would be great.
Yeah.
And not even like, I don't think he needs to stop joking. I just think he needs to be something along the lines of like Infinity War. Like that Thor.
Oh, yeah.
Infinity War Endgame Thor.
We want a tragic Thor back.
Not tragic, but just someone who...
Badass Thor. Just one that's not...
You didn't think he was badass in Love and Thunder?
I think he was. Let me put that personally. But what I mean
gotta
is
rewatch it.
Someone who's just a little more serious.
He was still mopey in Love and Thunder, though. I'm talking about like a stern.
But it was like annoying in Love and like the whole Jane Foster thing. I was like, I get it. Like, we don't need some sad boo-hooing baby the whole time who's like, Jane? Okay, yeah, we know. Like, great. Let's just move on. I don't know. I didn't really care for that. Maybe it's a Natalie Portman thing. I don't know. I had issues with that movie. I wish they would have tweaked a few things, but every character I have issues with.
I have a lot. There's a lot of issues with that movie, and I agree. Yeah. But it's like, how far is it from Thor Ragnarok? Not that far. If it reels back on the jokes in some of the serious moments, and really takes the threat of gore more seriously, bro, this is Ragnarok 2 for people. If you give Gore, if you give Gore the God Butcher a killing spree scene, and if they reel back the jokes, it's just Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah,
and people would have loved this movie.
Well, I do all. Yeah. We can talk about that. I think there were some ready-made things they could have done, and their end credit scenes are kind of cheeks.
Listen, end credit scenes have been cheeks for years. Something that we're gonna talk about down the line for people that actually want to hear it. We've been talking about it if certain MCU movies could be made today. And I did a rewatch of Avengers. I told you guys this in our personal chats. Man, what a ride. But let me tell you, the post-credit scenes, there's one with Thanos, which is pretty decent. And then the second one, do you guys remember what it is?
Shawarma, right?
Shawarma. They don't say anything. They just see shawarma. And let me tell you, today, if you made that post credit scene today, people would be pissed.
Yeah. It's
People would
not
be like,
worth going to see. Don't stay for the second end credit scene.
why did I stay for the second end credits? That was trash. What the heck?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what my friend was telling me about. What was it? That's what my friend was like. Oh, I saw the second post credit scene for Blue Beetle.
I
It was
won't lie.
trash.
I was a little mad that I waited for that. I get why they did it, but I was a little mad that I waited for that.
It's to the point now where do you really need to wait for end credit scenes?
I think
don't-
mid credits are always the ones that just wait.
Mid, let me go home. It's going to be on the internet. Scroll on TikTok long enough, you'll see it 50 different ways. I don't. The end credits scene, I don't care. Let it be Multiverse Madness and drop a full trailer as your end credits scene. In low definition. Oh, no, listen, it was a cool idea. However, from my experience in the theater, it got real quiet. It looked really grainy, and you couldn't see anything by the end of it. It was a terrible experience.
My theater was hyped.
No,
dude, my theater when they saw it, we were all hyped. So that's maybe for my theater it was different, but man, everybody was hyped for that.
It was like the Morbius trailer where every time it came on as a preview, it was just dead silent. Like, can someone fix the audio on this? Like, why would you send it out and why would you play it?
Oh god,
that was my multiverse.
God, that movie existed.
We still got to talk about that one day.
We could. Would it be one of the better DC movies if it exists?
Morbius?
Does Morbin compete with the first Suicide Squad?
Bro, I've been seeing people
with Wonder Woman 84.
I've been seeing people starting to come out and defend the David Ayer Suicide Squad, and I'm like,
it's something to do. It's something to do.
You're saying something just to say it at this point.
Because they like the hashtag.
The Ayer cut.
That's what they want. People want to influence a large billion-dollar corporation to do something that they want, and that's release the Ayer cut. And if enough people can yap about it for long enough and they get it, they're gonna sleep well at night.
I listen. I don't need a David Ayer cut.
No.
I don't need and I don't want one. Zack Snyder, I wanted it just because of how different we knew it would be. But we know that David Ayer cut's going to be like one or two different scenes, and it's not going to add much of anything of substance to this movie. And we're just going to be like, wow, we really begged for that.
Yeah, I feel that way. I definitely feel that way. I don't know. Well, we were talking.
DC's back though.
Oh, okay. Is that's the bold statement after Blue Beetle? DC's back.
Well, no, let me not say that.
Yeah, we're about to lose all subscribers, bro.
I was about to say that everybody's gonna leave us. There's hope for DC.
Superman.
This made me feel what I wanted to feel after watching The Flash.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the end statement there. There's my peace statement.
Take that and run with it. Literally. That's how you do it.
Or fly with it in your giant beetle scarab thing.
Fantastic. Hope. A character that's light. We lifted from this dark tone. They attempted with the Flash. Whatever. This was a good movie. My biggest takeaway here is if they can build on these character introductions and actually do something that Marvel isn't, which is a solid follow-up after introduction, this is what we've been talking about. It's building and bubbling slowly. I have a feeling that the DCU people quickly are going to look at the DCU in higher regards than the MCU. And if the MCU reboots after Secret Wars with all new, all different Marvel or MC or whatever they're going to call it, the internet is going to say, well, you just want to be like DCU, blah, 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 blah. You just want to be like them. I don't care if they have it in the works right now. It doesn't matter. Blue Beetle has put this in motion, and I will say is the official start of the DCU. And I will consider this the severing from the DCEU to Creature Commandos.
Well said.
Very well said.
DC,
But-
baby. Let's go, DC.
Yeah, Spider Bizzle, you got anything before we
Bizzle,
bounce?
I like that. Oh, you guys took the words out of my mouth. I can't even lie. I have a lot of hope for the DC James Gunn universe. And
Lantern.
I think we're in for a great time.
It's gonna look real spooky. I know you're pointing over that hero scroll to Green Lantern, but a Blue Beetle, Green Lantern, and nasty Superman character that hopefully we get right. And then we get Brave and the Bold, and you get the Bat Family, Nightwing, Rob, and whoever it might be.
Bomb ass machete though.
Dude, a
That's
Red Hood.
not exciting.
And so, I know, yeah, I'm kind of bummed out of a machete, but things can change. Things can change. Yeah, I do feel hopeful. All right, I'll leave it with that. I don't know if someone wants to do the outro, but it's a good ending.
We're all hopeful, and I think that's a good place to end it, and just understand that there's hope again for DC. There's hope.
Love it.
But everybody, thank you for joining us. Whether you watch this live or you're watching it later on, thank you for sticking with us. Point 3 is back. That's what we can definitely say. We're going to be coming at you with a lot of great stuff soon. So to stay hashtag on point with Point 3, make sure you subscribe to us here on YouTube, or you're going to be getting a lot of great content. Follow us on our social medias, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. But until then, guys, keep watching, keep reading, keep nerding out.